I'm not sure where to start or how to explain the unimaginable thing I've done. I grew up an orphan, with no parents to love or care for me. I was shuffled from one foster home to another until I ended up with my uncle. But he didn't take me in out of kindness. He only did it to avoid judgment from others. He was a cruel man who made my life a living hell. I was constantly abused, belittled, and made to feel worthless. But then, one day, I met this guy who turned out to be my husband. He was kind, gentle, and loving. He saw something in me that no one else did worth. He showed me love, care, and compassion. I knew I had to leave my uncle's house, and I never looked back. We were married for 11 years, and it was the happiest time of my life. He was a wonderful man, a contractor who worked hard to provide for our family. We had 3 beautiful children together, and I was grateful to be a stay-at-home mom, dedicating myself to their care and well-being. But then tragedy struck. My husband was in a terrible car accident while working abroad, and he didn't survive. Our world was shattered. To make matters worse, his family, who had always made it clear they didn't approve of me or our children, took everything from us. The house, the cars, even my husband's business, all gone. We were thrown out of our home like dogs, with no money, no belongings, and no support. I had 3 young children to care for, and the thought of providing for them was daunting. Finding a place to rent was impossible, and jobs were scarce. The reality of living on the streets was closing in on us, and I knew it wouldn't be easy. I asked a friend if we could stay with her temporarily so we could figure things out. She was a good friend, and she wanted to help me in any way she could. One day, she suggested that I visit a traditional healer, saying she had heard he was gifted and had helped many people in our community. She thought maybe he could help me too. Maybe I was just experiencing a streak of bad luck. I thought so too. Everything bad seemed to be happening to me. I finally decided to visit the traditional healer, desperate for any help. My friend came with me and we explained our situation to him. He listened intently, nodding his head, and then said he could help me, that I was in need of his assistance. I just wanted a job, a way to provide for my children. But then he said he could help me beyond my expectations. He just needed pictures of myself and my children for luck, he said. I returned to the traditional healer the next day, bringing the pictures of myself and my children as he had requested. He took the pictures and dipped them in a cup with a strange liquid. Then he handed me the cup and told me to drink it. I didn't ask why or what the liquid was. I just did as he said, desperate for a solution to our problems. After I drank the liquid, he gave me 3 dolls and instructed me to throw them in the river on my way back home. I didn't question him or hesitate. I just followed his instructions. I threw the dolls into the river, feeling a sense of hope that this would somehow improve our situation. 3 weeks later, my world was shattered again. My last-born got very sick, and despite my best efforts, she eventually passed away. I was consumed by grief and felt like I was losing myself. That's when everything changed. I met a man who was willing to do anything for us. He was kind, attentive, and seemed to care deeply for me and my children. But as time went on, I realized he was too obsessed with me. He wanted to control every aspect of my life, and I felt trapped. Despite my reservations, we moved in with him in a new apartment. He provided for us, and I thought maybe this was the fresh start we needed. But a year later, tragedy struck again. My second-born was hit by a car in a hit-and-run accident. She died instantly, and we never found out who was responsible. I was numb, unable to process the loss of 2 children in such a short time. The man I was living with seemed to be the only one who could offer me comfort, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off about him. A year after that, he passed away, and I was shocked to discover that I was the sole beneficiary of his will. Everything he owned was left to me, the apartment, the cars, the business. It was as if he had planned it all along. I couldn't help but wonder, was it luck, or was something more sinister at play? As I looked around at my newfound wealth, I couldn't help but think of my friend who had introduced me to the traditional healer. She had no children, no husband, but she had a beautiful home and a successful career. It was as if she had made a deal with the devil himself. But despite all my newfound wealth, I couldn't shake off the feeling of emptiness inside. I started having dreams, nightmares really. I would dream of my kids, all three of them, standing by a river crying. Their cries were loud and echoing, and I couldn't reach them no matter how hard I tried. I would wake up in a cold sweat, feeling like I was losing my mind. The dreams haunted me, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. Had I made a deal with the devil himself? Had I traded my children's lives for wealth and material possessions?